Hello, everybody. So for my um, target persona for the community that I'm in, I chose Freakonomics, which is a podcast and a blog and books. And so I have a presentation. Here it is. Sorry. Start from the beginning. Okay, so Freakonomics bills itself as the hidden side of everything. So they basically just try to come up with really interesting stories that people wouldn't sort of think to solve. And they started out as books, and they're a blog and podcasts, and I love listening to them and reading about them. So the target persona I chose, her name is Jen. She is a marriage and family therapist, married with 2 children and a dog, and she loves to listen to podcasts, and she shares posts and podcasts with her Facebook and Twitter followers, as well as her family members, like her children. So some of the things she could be quoted saying are, "I never would have thought to ask why people wear belts, but the history behind them is fascinating." So they just did a story recently about how belts, the belt became the go-to way to hold up your pants as opposed to suspenders, which actually work better. I can't stop listening to a Freakonomics episode even if I finish my run with 10 minutes left. So she just really loves it. And there's a lot they didn't teach us in school, but maybe they were boring us on purpose, because it turns out boredom is evolutionarily necessary. So I thought that was really interesting. I listened to a podcast recently where they talked about how boredom is something that we don't have very much anymore because of technology and things, but it's actually pretty useful. So, so Jen basically is a spectator, more so than a creator, but she will comment when something is particularly resonant to her, and she participates. The producers of the podcast will often ask for people to send in audio files of themselves talking about, say, their sleep schedules, and just details about, when they get up, and because they did a podcast all about sleep. So they're often wanting to involve their listeners, so it really feels like a community. So she will participate if something feels like it resonates with her. She is very into yoga, hiking, reading, and spending time with her family, going to Broadway shows. So she's a marriage and family therapist. She works in an office with other... Oh, sorry. There he is. I'm not very good at this. Okay, let me do it this way. Here we go. Okay, so she also has worked at a nonprofit that served to increase awareness of mental health and reduce the stigma about depression and anxiety. So she's definitely into psychology, and just loves to learn and sort of be a healthier person. And she finds that Freakonomics is good for that, mostly intellectually, but also they do podcasts that are about, say, there was one about sexual offenders and how the stigma about them, and sort of how they are in the prison system. Anyway, so there's just a variety of topics. Her age demographic is mid-30s to mid-40s, 38 to 45. Strong household income, and she's somewhere between urban and suburban. Could go either way, but sort of maybe works at could work at a university or in a city where there's sort of more people to need marriage and family. marriage and family therapy help. So her goals are really to feed her intellectual curiosity and to have something stimulating to listen to while doing yoga and on long car rides with her family. Her busy lifestyle is a challenge, and she and her husband both work full time. They have 9 and 11-year-old. The kids need to go to activities, be fed, have family time, and having her own life and excelling in her career sometimes feels like a secondary goal. It's definitely a challenge because first and foremost, she wants to take care of her family. So this community can be certainly helpful because, maybe after spending time with her kids, she just needs a break, and it's definitely a podcast and a blog that really gathers your, wins your attention, and it's a community. She can interact with other people on the blog, and she often does yoga and runs. She can listen to the podcast while she does that. And it's almost as engaging as a friend because sometimes she might not be able to see friends being so busy, so it's kind of always there, and it's great in the car. If she's too tired to really converse with her kids, she can sometimes pop on a Freakonomics podcast and not feel like she's really neglecting her kids because they're learning things, and stimulates them to think about things that they never would have before. And it's sort of something they can all do together. And she just loves to debate topics, and she enjoys being surprised and delighted every week, which is how often Freakonomics does podcasts. Okay, so that's the persona of Jen. She is typical of a Freakonomics listener. Let's see. All right, thank you.